So wherever you're at in your knowledge of Greek, I want to give you a goal for the next 12 months that you can sink your teeth into, that's achievable, and that is going to make a huge difference in your ability to read the New Testament in the original languages. So let's get into that. Learning to read the Greek New Testament is hard work. It takes perseverance, patience, and just grit, because you've got to roll up your sleeves every day and just keep making progress toward that goal. No matter how small that progress is, you just got to keep making progress. And it takes, therefore, intentionality, because it's easy to let it all go, but it takes intentionality to make sure you keep making that progress. And so one of the key elements of intentionality is to be able to set a goal that is appropriate for you and where you're at, and really that's going to make a big difference within 1 year. And so I want to give you an encouragement to set a goal. Now, this video is coming out at the beginning of 2023, but it doesn't really matter if you're at the beginning of 2023, halfway through, or a year or 2 years later. It doesn't really matter. The point here is that wherever you are now, you can plan to be somewhere completely different in just 12 months. And 12 months is a good amount of time. You can break it into quarters, and each quarter just make a little bit of progress, and that progress over that 12 months can be quite astounding once you put your mind to it and set your heart on it. However, it does take a little bit of planning. And in this video, what we're going to do is talk about the 3 starting points really that most people come to or come from when they start beginning Greek, and they want to sort of, when we meet them anyway, in Biblical Mastery Academy, and we're going to help them learn to read the New Testament in Greek. These are the 3 key starting points people generally begin with. Now, if you're not sure which of these 3 starting points I'm about to talk about are you, I've done another video which goes into detail on these a little bit more. So if you're interested in that, click the link just up here, the card up in the corner here, and that will give you access, so you can find the video that tells you, or that gives you the clue as to which of these 3 is best suited to you. In this video, I'm just going to kind of gloss over those. But here's the thing. Wherever you are right now, in 12 months, you could and should be a long way ahead and reading large portions of the New Testament in the original language without any tools, without any helps whatsoever. It doesn't matter if you've never learned Greek before, or if you're pretty good already and you've just sort of needed to sort of move forward from where you are. It doesn't really matter, because in 12 months you could be a long way ahead of where you are right now, and that's what this video is all about giving you. Now, the other thing I just want to note before we go into these 3 different starting points and the goals to set up for these, is that these goals are sort of starting points. Don't think about them as the end of the road. They're really just starting points, because your time is going to be different to somebody else's amount of time they have available. Your skill, your knowledge of languages generally, or even your ability to learn, all of these different factors could be, make a big difference for you as well. So you want to take those personal issues and little differences into account when you're thinking about this, setting goals for yourself, okay? So with that in mind, let's start with the first group. This is the biggest group. This is what most of you who watch this video are likely to be, and that is that you've never learnt any Greek in the New Testament before. Now, again, this also would apply if you haven't ever learnt enough Greek. So if you're muddling around with interlinears and things like that, then, and you can't pass a verb, and you don't understand morphology, and you don't really have a meaningful vocabulary as such, this also includes you. So in this case, your goal for the next 12 months is actually pretty straightforward. The first step really is to get through the basics of Greek, so learn the basics of Biblical Greek. And to do that, I want to recommend that you grab a copy of this grammar just here, Beginning with New Testament Greek by Ben Merkel and Rob Plummer. Great book. This is the grammar that we use. It's not overly technical, but it's technical enough to keep you challenged and make sure you learn the language well. And we actually have our own videos for this, and we have some own worksheets and all that sort of thing, but it doesn't really matter. The key point here is you want to get through a beginning Greek grammar over the next 12 months. Now, you can do this in 6. In fact, inside the Biblical Mastery Academy membership, which is going to be opening again pretty soon, we actually run one of these courses over a 6-month period, every year. So you can pretty much move along and finish an entire beginning Greek grammar in 6 months with us, which then means you're able to move beyond that within that 12-month period. And this is why we have so much confidence, is that I can have you by the end of 12 months, assuming you can do a chapter a week with us in one of our cohorts, in 12 months, not only will you finish beginning Greek, but you'll also be able to go out and start reading Greek, because I can give you some other material, particularly vocabulary, but then get you reading the New Testament, starting from the easiest books of the New Testament all the way through to the most difficult ones. But in that first 6 months after you finish beginning Greek, you should be able to get through about 6 or maybe 7 books of the New Testament. In fact, that should be pretty straightforward. Many people do much more than that. You should be able to get through that material pretty quickly at that point. Which means then that if that's you and you're planning to read through some of those books after you've finished beginning Greek, you want to identify the easiest books to read and start working through those to build out your confidence. Now, again, I did a video on this just a few weeks back, so if you're interested in that, click again. I'll leave a link up here on the card. Click that and you'll be able to find the link to that video, which will show you the order of books that I recommend that you learn the vocabulary for and then read after beginning Greek, going from the easiest books to the most difficult. And you'll see the benefits of doing that way. So check out that video. And if you are interested in learning Biblical Greek and you've never done so before, we would love to be able to serve you inside Biblical Mastery Academy. Make sure you're on our mailing list by downloading our Roadmap to Mastery, which is completely free at bma.to/roadmap. And we look forward to serving you inside our membership and being a blessing to you in there as well. So if you've never learnt Greek, then a good goal is that within a year, you should be able to read through about 6 or 7 books of the Greek New Testament fluently, probably even more than that, but let's start with that as a simple goal. Now, if you've already learnt Greek and you're in the second group, which is that you need a refresh, and then let's talk about a goal for you. The problem here is that so many people go through college or seminary and never actually build out the skills they need to be able to continue to develop their Greek, and so they end up losing it unless you work really hard and you're really diligent and you're really intentional. The problem here is actually the pedagogy, I think, anyway, this is my personal view, is the pedagogy employed by seminaries. Now, it's not that seminaries are bad or they haven't thought this through or anything like that. They've just got different goals. Seminaries are really focused on exegesis. So they get you through beginning Greek as quickly as they can. They will then work you through Greek syntax, more advanced Greek, which is great from an exegetical point of view, but it's going to be a little bit mismatched in terms of the vocabulary, and it doesn't tend to have a focus on reading, and so you come out of the college or seminary kind of environment without the skills in Greek that you really need to be able to read the New Testament fluently. Now, there are some seminaries that do a pretty good job at this, but a lot of them not so much, okay? And again, I'm not saying anything about seminary. I love my time in seminary. It's just they have different goals, okay? That's all there is to it. But if you're somebody who has learnt Greek and you're a little bit rusty and you need a refresh, well, let's set a couple of goals for you as well. First of all, you should be able to refresh your Greek in somewhere between 2 to 3 months, 10 to 12 weeks roughly is what it should take. And again, that's going at a faster pace than what you'd do if you were just learning beginning Greek from scratch. And that's because I'm assuming you've probably actually got a pretty good knowledge of more Greek than you realize, because it's amazing how much actually sticks. And the key thing to note here is that when you're going through and refreshing your Greek, don't do everything. Like if the grammar is going to work with the nouns and then the verbs, but your noun knowledge is pretty good, then just skim through that. Don't stress about it. If you can already tell the difference between a nominative and a dative and a genitive and an accusative, and you know how they work, then just skim that. Or even if you don't, again, but you can identify the forms, but you're not sure how they work, again, just skim that and work with the language as it is. So don't mess around trying to do it at the same pace as a beginning Greek course. You can go a lot faster, and I encourage you to do just that. So the key thing here is to focus on your weaknesses. So those things where you are strong, you can skim, and those things that are weak, that's where you want to spend a bit more time. And that's probably going to be things like your infinitives, your verbs, maybe participles. Yeah, you know what? Everybody struggles with participles apparently. So participles, and go through the paradigms, learn those well, and make sure you get those down. The other thing to do, of course, is to make sure you get your vocab down, that common vocab, so you know that well, so at least you got that behind you. Now, once you've done all of that, the next thing is just to get reading. And in a 1 year period, if you're going to do your beginning Greek, like refresh your Greek in about 12 weeks and then move on, you should end the year with a vocabulary of around about 1,000 words by memorizing about 25 words per week with a break every 5th week or thereabouts. Now, again, I'm going to talk about how to do this in just a moment in a little bit more detail when we get on to the next group. But again, if you're interested in the order of books, let me encourage you just to go to, again, the video I linked to up here before, and you can look at the ordering of books in the Greek vocab pack that we have, which I think is the easiest way to get this underway. What about if you're someone who's more advanced? What if you hit the like button regularly on these videos because they are helpful to you and you've already got Beginning Greek behind you? What if you're subscribed already to this YouTube channel, which means you're an advanced Greek person? I'm just being silly, but go ahead and hit the like button. It'll be a great blessing to us as we make these videos as well. But what if you're ready for more? What if you are finished Beginning Greek and you're just looking to go beyond? Or what if you're one of those people who went to seminary, you learned Beginning Greek, you've still got a reasonable handle on it, you don't really want to go backwards, you want to move forwards? Or what if you're one of those people who are going over Beginning Greek grammars, like going from one grammar to another to try and get those core things down? In each of these cases, the key thing is to start reading. You want to get that vocabulary down, you want to get experience translating, because when you're staying where you are, you're really just not developing your skills. And as I've mentioned before, Greek is a skill to develop, not a class to pass, okay? So you want to develop your skills and keep moving forward. And the best way to do that is to encounter more and more Greek. And the best way to encounter more and more Greek is to simply learn more vocabulary so that you can read more without any helps. So again, in this case, it's going to be the order of the books that is going to be critical. You want to start with the easy books, but you want to work your way through into some of the more difficult books as well, because those are going to be great for developing your skill. And in Biblical Mastery Academy and in the Greek vocab pack, which I've mentioned before, you will actually encounter some of the more challenging texts reasonably early, although they're not difficult, they're just different to, say, John's writings. So I want to get you out of John's writings pretty quickly so that you can see how Greek works outside of John's really simple Greek. Now, in this case, I want to encourage you again to learn vocabulary in blocks of about 5 weeks. So every 5 weeks, do 4 weeks of learning vocabulary at a pace of about 25 words per week. And then in that 5th week, take a week off. Now, you can vary this. If you've got a great memory and you're able to sustain that pace, well, then bump it up, make it 50 words a week, or 75 words over 3 weeks, or just whatever suits you, really. It's just a starting point, just a guide. But if you were to do this, just 4 weeks on, 1 week off, and you did this throughout the year, over a period of a year, you would learn over 1,000 new words, which is going to get you through at least 10 books of the Greek New Testament if you follow the order I give you in the Greek vocab pack. And this then is going to give you a huge amount of experience reading. You're going to be reading through John, John's writings. In fact, you'll just about read all of John's writings except for his gospel. You'll read through some of Peter and Jude and James and of course Paul. So you're going to get a good variety of reading in that order. And so that's a great way again to build out your experience. And you can do this just in your own devotional time. So stop reading English for your New Testament reading and just pick up your Greek New Testament and just read half a chapter a day, or even just a few verses a day to start with, and work your way up. As you learn the vocabulary, you'll speed up significantly and you'll be able to read a chapter a day. At the end of that year, I pretty much guarantee a chapter a day will be pretty achievable at that point, of course, depending on how much time you have. But it should be very doable and not overly taxing, because the challenge with Greek is not knowing the vocabulary. And if you can know the vocab, well, it's all much, much easier from that point on. So whereabouts are you up to in your Greek? Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know. And whatever your goal is, I'd love to hear that below as well. Leave a comment. Let us know what your goal is for the next 12 months with regards to learning the New Testament in the original language. And I look forward to hearing from you and interacting with you and encouraging you down there as well. So get into it down there. If you got value out of this video, I'd love it if you would support us by just hitting the like button and sharing this video, maybe if you're really super encouraged by it, but certainly subscribe and we'll give you more. There's lots more coming and I'm looking forward to serving you. In the meantime, as we keep creating videos for you, I want to keep encouraging you to keep taking small, consistent steps toward mastery, because really if you just keep making progress, you're going to get further ahead than where you are now, and you're eventually going to get mastery given enough time, right? So just keep taking small, consistent steps, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll see you then.